Marissa Jo Cerar, welcome to An Actor Despairs. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm well. How are you? Thanks for
Good.
having me.
It's a real honor to have you. I really want to say it's a piece of art. Women of the Movement is incredible, and you know, I've had I'm coming up on 200 episodes, so I think my audience knows, but I do want to congratulate you on doing such an
Mm.
intense and deep show on a network. Usually you go to HBO or one of the majors for that, and the level of intensity you were able to bring to that show was it was I mean, it was heartbreaking, and I say that in the best sense of the term. You really did Mamie and Emmett justice, and it's I'll be honest, there were a lot of aspects that I just didn't know about the story. Wikipedia you can glance at, but
Yeah.
it only tells you so much, and so thank you for your service on that.
Oh, well, thank you. And thank you for saying all of that. The intention was always to bring premium to network when I pitched it, and I wanted to pitch it as if it were, a streaming or a premium cable show. And I wanted to do as much as I could to maintain that through the execution, the production and the casting. And so that means a lot to me. No, no, I'm not dissing network television. It's just there are certain, stereotypes about
Yeah,
what it is. And I think this just
there's
proves you
confines you have to
can,
work in.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
But they made it actually, ABC was so amazing, and Capitol the studio, and they really embraced, my approach, and really, we all really wanted to just deliver a really beautiful 6 hours of TV.
Well, you absolutely knocked it out of the park, and
Thanks.
I'm so excited to see all the amazing things you're going to do. But in order to kind of understand women of the movement and everything, I'd like to start at the beginning. So tell me, where did you grow up?
I grew up in this very small town of about 1,600 people in rural Illinois called Athens. It's like 20 minutes, I think, south of Springfield, Illinois, the capital, and it's 4 hours south of Chicago. So
Wow.
it's just really in the middle of cornfields, and there are no stoplights. Well, there weren't. There might be now, but just a really tiny little town. I lived there since I was three and I went, from preschool all the way to high school. And I'm one of eight adopted children. So, I have this very unique family. And by being part of this, all these people were taken, or not taken, but came from different parts of the country. And we all came together to create this family. It gave me, a unique worldview, because I
Yeah.
just grew up with so many different kinds of people. And being, back then I was the only Black person in the town. My parents are white, and my siblings are white, and so I just had the experience of being different. Really, I contributed and contributes to the type of stuff that I like to explore and the stories I like to tell. And I think it all goes back to how I grew up and where I
Yeah.
grew
What
up.
what incredible experience. If you don't mind me asking, how many were, parents aside, how many other siblings?
I have seven siblings. We're all
Wow.
adopted. Yeah, we're all
So
adopted.
there's eight total children.
Yeah, yeah.
So you grew up with a family of 10.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, my two of my siblings are much older, so they moved on. So for a while it was just me and my older brother, and then my parents became foster parents when I was seven, and so then we had kids who would come, for a day or two, but then my parents adopted five children from the same family who are my brothers and sisters, and so all of a sudden we went from this little family to a huge family, and then that's what we're still that huge
Wow.
huge family.
How old were you when that happened?
I think seven, around
Okay,
seven,
so
eight.
most of your
Yeah,
growing up was with,
yeah,
yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, absolutely.
And
Yeah,
so I mean, obviously that's an incredible like introduction to an amalgamation of culture. But talk
yeah.
to me about like growing up in rural Illinois with this
Mhm.
nuclear family, like were you guys exposed to the arts? How did this all start to happen for you?
My parents had satellite dish and cable from, like, they were, very early on. My dad is an absolute news junkie. And I just watched so much TV and so many movies, and I read so many books.
Yeah.
So I just was constantly consuming material. And part of it, probably, I don't think I knew it at the time consciously, but I just, exploring the world because I lived in such a small town and meeting different types of people because I was so different. And I think that's probably why I gravitated towards, writing and reading. Cause I knew from a very like 10 years old, I wanted to be a writer. I just
What? So you
loved,
did?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. My mom bought me a typewriter after I had written a little novella. I still have it. And I illustrated it. So I'm not a visual artist by any stretch of the imagination. It's really funny to look at it and I compare it to my daughter who's 6, like her drawings, where
Wow.
she's much better than I ever was. But yeah, I just knew I just loved it so much. I loved creating characters and different worlds. And I just knew from that moment, and my mom supported it. My parents just supported it. They nurtured it. It was very different from how they grew up, and they never imagined, careers in arts or that you could even have that. But they just really said, okay, this is what you want to do. We don't really understand it, but we'll support you and help you get there. And they did.
Was there a particular book or novel that was the
Oh,
catalyst for you? Like, all right, this is what I have to do.
I don't, man, I wish I could remember. I read so much, and I was really little, so it's probably really nothing great. And
The
because I was so
classics.
young, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
not even probably not even
Wow.
probably maybe like American Girl story, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Going to the library every day during the summer and checking out books, but watching so much TV, and then really watching a lot of indie movies and stuff
Can
on
you name some of those
HBO.
shows and
Well, when I really was obsessed with Welcome to the Dollhouse when
wow,
I got a
okay.
little older.
Yeah,
I was a little older, but because we had a video store in town, so I'd always go to the video
the
store and rent
best.
any obscure, indie movie, because the movie theater that was like a luxury because it was a 30-minute drive. It was so expensive to take, that many
Yeah,
children
I
to the
guess
movies.
it's
So,
$200. That's great. That's insane.
with no food. I mean,
Yeah.
just the tickets. So I rented a lot of videos back then before DVDs. And but growing up, that was like The Sound of Music, Annie, those two
Okay.
movies I mean, Annie, I'm adopted, so obviously, and the
Yeah, I didn't
music,
even think about that now.
so
Yeah.
but from a very young age, that's the first movie I think I really remember being obsessed with, and I still am obsessed with it. My daughter, now I'm passing along my obsession of the original Annie movie and Broadway soundtrack to my daughter. But yeah, I loved movie musicals and just stories where there were girls or women who were at the center of the story. Just really inspired me back then and continue to inspire me now.
That's incredible. And so as you got to like middle and high school, and you obviously we all take English or literature, and there starts to be a curriculum and a syllabus of novels
Yeah.
that you're going to cover as you start,
Yeah.
because I think, when, I don't think we're that far apart in age, but when we grew up, there was no internet. So you couldn't like search for
Yeah.
like good book. It was really like those classes were the things that exposed me to like discovering George Orwell and Ayn Rand and so I'm curious, how was that experience in those kind of classes? Because I know other people tend to like hate reading or hate, so was that your favorite academic class?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, where I grew up, I went to a really small school, and it's very different from I think what most people's experiences in terms of a high school English class and the curriculum and what we were reading and what was assigned to us. I mean, my graduating class is one of the biggest, and I think there were 85 students
Wow.
in it.
Okay. Yeah.
So just to give you an idea, so I don't recall from school, like I don't recall being inspired to read, like Maya Angelou or Toni Morrison or anybody like that from school. But my mom is a massive reader. She
Okay.
reads everything from, like romantic, historical romance to memoirs, and she has like a whole presidential library in her house, to Oprah's book club selects. Like my mom has always really inspired and encouraged me to read. So I think Maya Angelou, The Bluest Eye, I remember that being something that really stayed with me when I was relatively young. But I don't think until I went to college, might not have been when I sort of really did the deep dive and started reading more literature, like
Yeah.
like I don't even remember being assigned the class. I don't remember when like J.D. Salinger was presented to me.
Right.
I don't remember. I'm not that old, but I don't recall. It's just such a part of who I am now that I don't remember those milestones and when I was introduced to certain authors.
Yeah, it is crazy. And even though I went to public school, I do think I'm very fortunate because now we live in a ridiculous world where people are trying to, cancel certain books that are
Yeah.
iconic, Huckleberry Finn and ones that it's insane to me. And so, you forget that around the US, not every school education program is going to teach the same books. And
Yeah.
Brave New World, 1984, those were a big part of mine. I'm curious, as you went along in high school, was there any kind of like creative writing extracurricular class or?
Yeah, we did. I when I was in high school, we had this vocational program where in Springfield, which was like I said, like 20 minutes away, where I would go to my regular school for half day and then I drive and I went and I did radio photography and television production. So I was
In
able to,
high
it wasn't
school?
in high school. So
Wow.
for the
Okay.
last 2 years. So it wasn't creative writing, but I got to be very creative. And I think I probably took some creative writing classes. And I know when I was very young, my mom enrolled me in summer creative writing classes in the city. But yeah, but before I'd ever learned, I was just doing it because
Yeah.
I was reading so much as a very little kid that I just I didn't know. I mean, I learned grammar and punctuation and everything. I was never an English major, but I think it was more inspired about just when I was little, the experiences I was going through being so different, and then just the amount of books I was reading every
Yeah.
summer
Yeah.
at the from the library that just inspired me to just do it. But yeah, I wish I could recall some amazing creative writing program or something. It just wasn't. It was just my life. I just did it.
And as you had that special program, was there an idea of like when you said I want to write, was there, was it film and television? Was it
Yeah,
novels? Was there
yeah.
anything, immediately kind of presenting itself to you as the pathway that you were going to embark on?
It was film. It was, I mean, for a very
You
long
knew
time, it was
young.
film.
Okay.
Yeah.
Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. I just loved movies so much, and especially indie movies. So I really thought I'll be a writer, I'll be a director, I'll do all of it, I'll do it all. And,
Yeah.
I went to film school and realized I really,
Where, if you don't mind me asking?
oh yeah, I went to Columbia College in Chicago.
Oh, okay. Awesome.
Yeah, it's a liberal arts college.
Is
It's
that
got a pretty
private or
big,
state?
it's private.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, I went there. So as soon as I finished high school early and then graduated like a semester early and then went up to Chicago and just moved there and just dove right in and took all of the, the directing classes, the editing classes, but screenwriting, it was, all what I wanted to do. And so when I got to my final semester, they offered this semester in LA for screenwriters specifically.
Like studying
And
abroad, but
yeah,
wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And so I moved into like a hotel, like an extended stay for a
Was it the
while.
Oakwoods
And
or?
it was no, it was literally called extended stay, I think, in
Oh, okay.
Burbank.
Okay.
And by the airport, I don't even know if it's still there, but
I'm sure it
and I would go
is.
to the I'd go to
Yeah.
the CBS Radford lot, Monday through Friday, like 8 or 9
Well, she
hours a
just got
day. There was
sold. Rest in peace.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's crazy. And there was 7 of us who I think did I don't know if it was the inaugural program. It may have been. I'm going to age myself here, but it was it was the beginning of the program. And now I think you have a different, directors semester, like, fashion designers, costume designers semester in LA from Chicago. But we just went every day and we met screenwriters, we studied scripts, we watched movies, and we toured, we went to different studios, we went to the Writers Guild
That's
library, and just it was
incredible.
amazing to be,
Yeah.
from the Midwest and to come. I had been here a couple of times when I was younger, but to be from the Midwest and just live here and get to meet all these people, it was so exciting. And to be on a lot, when
Yeah.
you're that young and you're still in college and you get to see, it was like Passions, the soap opera, I think was on, and there was
I watch
all of
Passions all the time. I totally remember that. Was there a writer or showrunner or that took you maybe under their wing and kind of mentored you or?
Yeah, I mean, there are a bunch of people who came in to just speak with us, and there was a writer named Jaron Summers. I think he mostly known for like sci-fi novels.
Okay.
He had done some TV, but I wrote thank you letters to everyone who spoke to our class. And he was the one who responded. And I started doing like assistant stuff for him. And then just
So you stayed in LA. You didn't.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
I stayed in LA and I interned at a production company. I can't remember the name of it. It's been a minute. But I learned, I got to look at his scripts and how short stories were adapted into screenplays. And I got to work on screenplays with him. So I learned a lot just from him. It's a different path, and a different type of material than I write and wrote. But it's such a valuable experience. Just seeing someone who had been doing it for a long time, and you got to talk to me about, the struggles and the obstacles, and only because I, wrote a thank you note did I even really get the opportunity and to like make some money, because I had, was completely broke.
Yeah.
I didn't have like parents were like, oh, here's a chunk of money and, just do your thing and, don't worry about getting a job. Like I had to work. I had to work a lot.
And to manifest that work, what did you do? Did you start doing spec scripts, or how did?
Yeah, it took me a long time to get my first like real job. Because also like my first real job just meaning like being staffed on the television show. I had optioned a couple
in a
things.
writer's room, you mean?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I had optioned a couple of things. But yeah, I was writing spec scripts. I was entering every single screenwriting competition I could.
Great.
And just writing back then query letters. I don't even know if that's a thing anymore.
I don't even know what that is. Yeah. Wow.
Just an email, like it's emailing saying, here, I wrote this thing. This is why you should meet me. And of course, nobody ever did.
Yeah.
But I was working, I moved on and I worked as an executive assistant to an executive producer of like miniseries. It doesn't exist anymore, but there was a writer's PA who saw me writing on Final Draft and said, oh, you're a writer. So, and I said, yeah, I enter all these competitions. I placed in like Slam Dance. I placed in a couple of others. I've never won anything.
Yeah.
And he said, let me read something. I just signed with this brand new management company. And he read a couple of my scripts. He's like, I want to send this to my new managers. And the management company is Heroes and Villains Entertainment. They are still my managers. Like,
amazing.
I don't know if it's 10, 12 years. This has been a long time, but they've been my managers for a long time. And I went in, I met with them. I had written so many specs, probably like 8 features. I gave them all to them to look at. I told them, what my goals were for my career, who I wanted to be, what was my brand, even though like I didn't really think that way.
And this is before the content bubble that we live in now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Completely. It's just a completely different time.
Yeah.
And there also weren't a lot of people of color in writers' rooms. There might be
God.
one, certainly not running shows, certainly
and also not a lot of women, there were a lot of male clubs,
yeah. It was, which now it's just so crazy to even think that way, but that's the way it was. So, but I met with them and I just was honest about who I was and what my personal story was, why I wanted to write and what I had to say. And then I just started writing a bunch of specs. And where I went wrong was I was writing what everybody said was selling and what people wanted to buy. And none of it was authentic to my experience or to my voice. Right. So I went off to write, like I just said, you'd write the spec and then they'd take it out and then nobody would bite. Like nothing would happen. It was just dead. And it's demoralizing because you spend however many months or a year writing these feature specs and then nobody wanted them. And it sucked. And you want to make it. You want that big sell that's going to change your life. So I went off to write something. I was like, I'm just going to write something. I don't want anyone to tell me if it's going to sell or not, or if it's what the market wants. I just want to go write again and remind myself why I started doing this in the first place. And so I went off to write this spec feature called Conversion. And it was really inspired by where I grew up in rural Illinois and a lot of people I grew up with. It was this woman who her son in conversion therapy, which is reparative day therapy. And after he dies, she's on this journey to find out why and what she did wrong and how she could have been a better mother to him. And it was just came straight from my heart. And I started entering it, I think, into some competitions. And my managers actually heard about it. And they said, okay, so we heard you wrote this really good script that you haven't shared with us. Why? And I was like, because I'm afraid you guys are going to say, oh, it's not going to sell. Nobody wants to buy this. So they read it and they called me, like, sent it to them on Friday. They called me on a Monday and said, we're never going to ask you to write anything again. This is you on the page. And it changed my life. I got on the blacklist that year.
Wow.
I signed with ICM feature and TV, and I had not even written a TV spec yet because I thought I was just going to write features. And then I got staffed on my first show a few months after writing my first pilot.
It
was all within the year. It was The Fosters.
The Fosters. Okay.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
And it was really, truly because of.
And the movie's not yet been made. Right?
No. We sold it. And they've had a number of directors attached, and I now have it back, and we're going to develop it with the studio because I have an overall deal.
When you need an actor,
yeah, we're gonna when I have a little my schedule frees up a little bit, we're gonna develop it, redevelop it as a series.
That's incredible. I love that. That's what a journey. And then talk to me about going from like struggling to having this, and then having the, some of the biggest reps, as some people may know, ICM now is going to merge with CAA. So it's top 5, and they're the kind of people that can get you in any room, and then finding yourself in the writer's room for the Fosters. We all deal with imposter syndrome at some point. Like, how did you feel coming into an established group, an established show, and this being like your first major thing? Was that really overwhelming?
No, it wasn't, because I knew that. I mean, number one, it was the very big. I was day one of the writers.
Oh, so you were season 1.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. But signing with ICM, it just I had been waiting. I believed in myself. I could not see myself doing anything else other than writing. So I was just like, I got to keep going. It's going to have to happen someday. And so when I finally signed with ICM, it was like, okay, finally, so I can move on. Let's move on to the next stage. I was just like ready for it, because
and your parents must have been writing. Thrilled.
Yeah, I don't think they don't really know.
Got it.
They're thrilled when they could see my name like written by.
Yeah.
And then that's just, okay, look, I did so, like, it's there. It's there forever. But signing with ICM, I still have the same agent. Howie Tannenbaum was my junior agent back then. He's now my main agent. We've been together this whole, I think, God, is it almost 10? It might be 10 years now. Wow. And I think it works so well because I was just really honest with who I am, this type of stuff I write, what I want to write, what I don't want to write, and my personal story that he also uses. He used to get me into the room for the Fosters because I had never staffed. Yeah. So it's nerve-wracking now that I'm on the other end of that. When I've staffed now 2 shows. You're nervous if they've never staffed. You never know what you're going to get. You want to give people an opportunity. But my story, my parents are foster parents. I'm adopted. I'm biracial. There's so many things that could lend themselves to the show and the material that they read me. I think, I'm not speaking up for them, but because of my script, but also because of my bio. Yeah. And then I had to, nail the meeting, which I guess it went well. I got the job. But I was nervous day one, but I was in a writer's group, and I'd been in a writer's group for a few years. Okay. So we acted as our own little writer's room. And we were critiquing each other. We're breaking.
And writers can be brutal on each other.
Oh my God! Yes,
some of the toughest critics ever. Man.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. And they're now like some of my, closest friends. Yeah. We've just been with each other. We all were represented by heroes and villains. That's how we all met each other at a Christmas party. And we were like, we should start a writers group. And so we did. And now, 10 years later, we're still like, we're going to each other's weddings, meeting each other's kids.
Amazing.
And so that prepared me. Being in a writer's group really prepared me for being in a writer's room. And then it's just, you have to do it. Until you do it, you don't know. And it is scary going in the day one of any new job.
Yeah.
But especially when it's a job where you have to talk and you're a writer and you're used to sort of being alone in a room with your thoughts. Yeah. And then especially feature to TV, where you have to, pitch and talk and share and come up with quick, answers to questions. And so it was nerve-wracking, but I felt like I was ready for it. I've been preparing, my whole life essentially to get that first opportunity. I was not going to squander it.
And was it a good experience?
Yeah, it was, my first show. And it was back when you would 22 episodes a year. It was,
Yeah.
on ABC Family, which is
10
now
months
Freeform.
on, 2 months off. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was, and I got to produce I was a staff writer. I got to produce my own episode. I was on set with one of my EPs for a day. And then they said, you're good. And I had an amazing director, Norman Buckley, as my first director I ever got to work with. He was so kind and he was just so generous with advice. It was just such a great experience. And I learned so much because now there are so many writers who are co-EPs who've never been on set before, but I've been on set for, 9 years now, start on other people's shows before, doing my own. So I learned a lot about pitching, writing, outlines, how you use outlines as a tool to really get the network and studio on board with the story that you're telling, really putting them in the movie before you script it. Working with actors, finding out how to quickly change dialogue on set and to listen to how to hear them and to actually hear, what their problems are with the dialogue and how to quickly fix it without completely rewriting, the scene. So yeah, it was, in terms of such an amazing learning experience. I mean, every show I worked on has prepared me, good and bad, for becoming a showrunner.
And how many seasons did you do with the Fosters?
3 years. So
wow.
60 something episodes, I think.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was a big, leaving was really scary because it was my only show. I just
and
had
financially it must have been very alluring.
Yeah, I just had a baby and I just bought a house. Like, there's so many insane things, but I received, an offer to write on a limited series called Shots Fired.
Yeah, I saw that.
Co-created by Reggie Rock Bythewood and Gina Prince Bythewood. And I wanted to just take the meeting to meet them. I mean, Gina is a hero in our community. Like, she's this amazing Black director. She is such a badass. Everyone knows who Gina Prince Bythewood is. And I think as a Black woman in Hollywood, you're like, whether I get the job or not, like, I just want to go meet her. Yeah. And so I met Gina and Reggie, and I just loved the script for Shots Fired, and I really understood the material. But I didn't really, there were no stakes for me. I was like, I have a job, I was on hiatus.
Yeah. Okay.
But I didn't realize that they really liked me. I didn't know at the meeting. I was like, okay, I don't know if they liked me or not. Yeah. It's Christmas. I'm going home for Christmas. I'm not going to think about this. But then I got the call, that they really, really wanted me to write on the show. And so it was a very, very tough decision, because I shared so much of my life on the Fosters.
Because that meant taking that meant you had to leave.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I had to. Okay. And it was from 22 episodes a year to a 10 episode limited series. Yeah. So, it's just scary, but, I had a really great team told me you're going to be just fine. Yeah. And writing on Shots Fired changed my life. The moment, day one, I walked into the writer's room, I was sharing an elevator with another writer, and we walked out of the elevator, and right before we walk into the writer's room, there's this photo of Emmett Till above the door. And my fellow writer, he almost started crying, and he was like, oh my God, it's Emmett Till, it's Emmett Till. And then we walk into our writers' offices, which were beautiful. We all had such beautiful offices. They cared so much about us. Yeah. Like, you just knew you were in good hands.
A rare gig. Yeah.
Oh my God. It was like, there was so much thought and care. And Between the World and Me by Ta-Nehisi Coates is sitting on our desk as a welcome gift to the show. You just know, like, these are thoughtful, brilliant people who really care about telling the story right. Because the story was about, police shootings in America.
And this is before 2017, Black Lives Matter.
This was 2016, the winter, the very beginning.
So after Ferguson.
Ferguson.
Okay, yeah. Got it. Wow.
After Ferguson. And so working on that show, I was a co-producer, so I was mid-level. But after I'd been there maybe a few weeks or a month or so, I was taken aside and said, we see something in you. You are so committed. You really get the show. I don't care what your level is. You're running the show with us. So we're going to push you. And we're going to
you became showrunner.
No, I mean, no, but it was okay. Like, do you know what I'm saying? Like, you said, we're going to give you more to do than some of the other people.
Because you can handle it.
You can handle it. Meaning like someone at your level doesn't usually get to do these things.
Right, yeah.
Because everybody was amazing on that show.
You earned it. So it's awesome.
It just, because the imposter syndrome, like you said,
Yeah.
we all feel it. And when they told me you're talented, I assumed I had some talent. I had a career. I felt talented, but they told me, they said, you're talented. We see something in you. Let's do this together. And so I got started. I was pitching arcs to actors. I was rewriting other scenes. I did so much. And then I got to really produce, like go to North Carolina, work with Casey Lemons, who directed my episode, work, side by side with her, who I love her so much.
Yeah.
And she went on to direct one of my episodes of Women of the Movement. And Gina Prince Bythewood, who was the showrunner, co-creator of Shots Fired, directed the pilot of Women of the Movement. Fast forward a few years, but just having Black showrunners just was amazing. It was such a gift. I wasn't the only one in the room.
Yeah.
I felt safe. They took care of us, and I always felt it changed my life. And it was just an amazing experience. It was very hard, but I learned so much. They gave me a window into a world I hadn't stepped through yet. And so I was really, really, I'm forever grateful for that experience, as challenging as it was, but I'm so proud of it. And it really prepared me for everything that followed, because by them literally saying, we believe in you, just hearing someone in this industry say it, who works with me, the moment I left the show, everything just fell into place, because I believed in myself.
Because then you got Handmaid's Tale and 13 Reasons Why.
And it was just everything changed. So I just, it was an amazing experience. So after Shots Fired was a limited series, obviously, so it was just a 1-season thing. And then I worked on 13 Reasons Why season 2.
Okay.
Such a long time ago. And I was a supervising producer on that show and spent so much time on set. I mean, I was constantly flying up north to cover set. And, the 3 supervising producers, we each had our own little mini room, and we'd working on different storylines and marrying
Amy
them.
Hargraves is a friend.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Was
And
that a good time working with Netflix?
Yeah. I mean, it's a massive show, and I started before season 1 was released. The writer's room for season 2 was opened. So I got to experience with the people who had created season 1, the worldwide response to this, just this massive show. So it was cool to see them, to be there, even though I wasn't part of creating the show. But it was interesting because I'd been part of the Foster since day one. Then I was part of Shots Fired since day one of the writer's room. So I was really nervous to go in to a season 2 show. But everybody was, lovely and great. And it was, also a formative experience, because I had being on set more than I'd ever been on set before for previous 2 shows. Also prepared me for my running my own set for Women of the Movement. But after season 2 of 13 Reasons Why, I had 2 spec assignments that I was trying to juggle while working on 13 Reasons Why, and it was just overwhelming. And so I took a break from TV and just focused on the spec assignments. And then when I returned to TV, it was just absolutely by chance. The Handmaid's Tale was looking for a writer for season 3. Wow. And my agent was like, do you like The Handmaid's Tale? And I was like, oh, it's my favorite show. Wow. And I wasn't really looking to do
get
staff
back
again.
In.
But it's just like, dude, when you get that opportunity, you go meet, Bruce Miller, and you tell him how much you love the show, and you talk about why, because I'm adopted in the show. There's so much personal experiences that I relate to the characters, and just motherhood and wanting to know your story. And so I started as a new writer on season 3 of Handmaid's Tale. And so that I was absolutely terrified, because it's a massive show, Emmy-winning show, staffed full of Ivy League educated people. And I come in, I was just super terrified, but they were lovely to me and welcoming. And I'm so proud of the episode that I wrote, episode 5 of season 3. It was just a really beautiful experience writing. And also I went up and I produced the episode as well in Toronto.
Amazing.
And I'm really proud of it. And it was a great experience. The only reason I left Handmaid's is because on my hiatus, I sold a show, Women of the Movement, to ABC with Capital Entertainment.
let's go to the conception of that. Earlier, you mentioned a moment. There was a photo of Emmett Till. At what point
Yeah.
did you start writing Women of the Movement?
It happened by chance because that was 2016. I went and worked on Shots Fired. There's this photo of Emmett Till, and one thing that I left out was, we met so many people. They called it Shots Fired University, just the research portion of the writers' room. And Oscar Grant's mother, Wanda Johnson, was one of the speakers who came in and met with our writers' room to talk about her experience, losing her son and then fighting the fight. And his the end of his life is obviously captured in the masterpiece Fruitvale Station. And so meeting her, she's talking about the loss, of her beloved son and how graceful she was. I was just blown away because I'm a mom. I was a new mom back then, and I couldn't imagine being so strong in the face of such a tragedy. And so I just never left me. Then fast forward 2019, summer, spring, I'm on hiatus from Handmaid's Tale, and I go to a general meeting at Capitol Entertainment, and they had read some stuff of mine and liked it and wanted to see if we could develop something together. And they said, we have the Emmett Till book, and I just said, oh man, I'm really looking to take a break this summer. I really am not looking to
especially to go that heavy, yeah.
But I just kept thinking about the mothers and what they experience, and I said, if I were to do it, I'd want to tell it from his mother's point of view.
Yeah.
This is before I did any of the research, before I really knew what story I was telling. I knew the Emmett Till story, but I didn't know how massive it was. And so I said I'd think about it, but then I just spent months reading, watching every documentary, reading every article, every book, every hour of footage or minute of footage, newsreel footage, even from 1955 on YouTube, because there's so much out there. And then I just wrote the pitch of all, it was going to be 8 episodes. And then with Capitol Entertainment, with Rock Nation, with Westbrook, went to ABC, pitched it, and was sent off to write the first 2 episodes, and then waited. And then a writer's room was ordered, a very brief writer's room, to make it 6 episodes. Had staffed a room, wrote all the episodes, waited a few months for the show to be ordered after all the scripts were written, and then it was ordered.
Did they give you access to historians and everything like that?
No, I did everything on my own.
Is incredible. That
and this is before I had an assistant, not to do my own horn, but now that I'm in a different place. But yeah, I didn't even have an assistant. I literally just consumed as much as I could. And luckily, later in the process, I was able to meet Wheeler Parker Jr., who's Emmett Till's cousin, and he's the last living witness to his kidnapping and incident, and the co-author of Mamie Till-Mobley's memoir. I was able to have access to them after the fact, but before, and they've been so amazing. But it just, in the very beginning, it was, it was me.
And so then this probably got ordered right as the pandemic started, right?
The writer's room was ordered.
Okay.
I think 2 weeks after the world shut down, April of 2020. And the show was a
Zoom writer's room.
Yeah, it was a virtual room. And then the show was ordered in, I think, August or September of 2020.
In totality, not with a pilot contingent?
No.
Wow,
no,
incredible.
Serious order. Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, all the scripts were written, and it was like this is a story.
Yeah, let's commit.
Yeah.
And it's a one season limited series. So that's incredible. And talk to me about, casting and shooting. Did you have all the vision in your head?
Yeah, for me, luckily I knew who I wanted to direct the pilot. It was going to be, if Gina were available and wanted to do it, that was just the story that I had always been telling myself. And luckily, we have remained in each other's lives since Shots Fired. And I sent her the script, long before the rest of the scripts were done. And she was like, I would love to be able to do it. And we were able to make it work with her schedule and so we, did, cast it together. And that was a really cool experience. But in terms of, the vision, my vision was always authentic, recreating as much as we possibly could, from costumes to locations,
Where did you film? Did you film
in actually Mississippi? We shot in the
Wow.
actual in the courtroom where the trial took place. We
Incredible.
were in Greenwood, Mississippi, and we shot where many of the events that took place is where we filmed,
Including the
and
river.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Whoa,
yeah.
what an opportunity. And obviously for this one, were you on set every day?
Oh yeah. I moved my husband and daughter to Mississippi. We lived there, and I was on set every day. No writer, nobody could come. It was pandemic, but also
Oh
this
man.
was, had been I had a 5-week writer's room. That's it. I didn't have like a staff of writer
Yeah.
producers. I was doing this on my own, and it was really important to me to protect, it's a true story, and to protect the legacy. I needed to be there. I needed to be there every single step of the way. And I need to be there for the cast. It's very challenging subject matter, and I needed to
Yeah.
be a consistent voice because we had, amazing directors, amazing, and there was 4 different directors, so I needed to be a consistent voice as we transitioned from episode to episode. And I love my cast so much. It was a remarkable experience. Like, they all lived together,
How long of a shoot?
and from January to mid-April.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it was such a like summer camp. Like, one of the actors told me at the end, it was like like summer camp, and
Yeah.
some of them were crying and telling me this is the most amazing experience of life. Like, people have been doing this a long time,
Yeah.
and I needed to be there I needed to be right there every single step of the way. It was so important to me to just protect it.
And were you working like literally hand in hand with every department, like production design, costume?
Yeah, yeah,
Wow. It
yeah,
shows. I mean, it
yeah.
is such a beautiful piece.
Thank
It's
you.
it's so it's so informative, and there are a lot of interesting things that you do, like telling it from, the mother's perspective. And also, like, I really appreciated you not showing the killing, because there are a lot of people that I think would have done that. And I think it made it stronger, because then you're so engaged in the discovery, and the DA, and it was just, I mean, it was I'll use the word perfect. It was just such a perfect piece.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. So many people made it what it is. We're a family. I want to. I wish I could work with my production designer, Michelle Harmon. Is just a genius, and I want to work with her forever. Our editors. I mean, it was such an amazing experience. And personally, to be able to work with Gina on the pilot and Casey Lemons on the finale, and our Shots Fired reunion when I was a co-producer to being a showrunner, was so beautiful. I love them so much, and they're heroes of mine. And to Adrienne Warren, who plays Mamie Till-Mobley, Cedric Joe, Glenn Turman, Ray Fisher, it's just Chris Coy. This cast, I love them. I'm so grateful. All of them. I know I didn't name them all, but it was an amazing, life-changing experience. This is the hardest thing I have ever done, because I was in prep, production, and post simultaneously. I was rewriting while filming.
You were
while
part
casting.
of the edit as well.
Yeah, I'm the showrunner.
Yeah,
it's final. It goes.
So how long?
Goes beyond me.
Like, from, let's just say, pre-production to finishing. How long of the commitment of your life was this?
Well, I mean, do you mean like official pre-production or writer's room? Or
let's include writer's room.
Yeah. I mean, from the pitching of the show to wrapping the show, it would be 2 years. Wow. From writer's room, 1.5 years. To air, almost airing, it would be almost 3 years from when I first walked in for the general meeting of about the Emmett Till project. So it was a lot. It was completely my life. But yeah, because I have to approve score, I have to approve every costume, I have to
color grading.
Although that part I left to all of the
nice
people who understand that stuff, but as long as it looks good. But yeah, every part of the process, you have to be, your name's on it at the end of the day as the showrunner and the creator.
Well, having all that time with it, but then having to do the hardest thing, which is letting it go and letting it be aired. How was that experience in real time? Having the feedback of, a live audience. I mean, it's not a live audience, you know what I mean?
Yeah. I am it's like having a baby. It's like the baby is in your womb, and then you have to share it with the world the day that you give birth. It's no longer, the baby's no longer just mine, it's the world's.
Yeah.
So and I'm a very sensitive person. I care so much. I take everything
You're an artist,
personally.
of course. Yeah.
It's this project specifically, getting the blessing of Wheeler Parker Jr., the Mamie Till-Mobley's family, when after they had watched, before the world saw it, after they had watched all 6 episodes and we got to Zoom and they said, "You got it right," I started sobbing uncontrollably, and I said, this is what I needed.
That's all
Everything
you
that
need.
happens
Yeah.
after
Yeah.
is what, is out of my control, but I just wanted them to know how important it was for me to protect it, and for them to be proud of it and to support it, and to be part of it, and to be able to travel the country with them for the various screenings was amazing. To be in the same room, because it was Zoom, and
Yeah.
to be with them, and it was just amazing. But so when it was released, it was amazing, but I don't read reviews. I had some sent to me, and I made it a rule that no one sends, because people might think that it's completely positive, but they might say one, like a couple of negatives. I'm like, no, yeah. So I didn't read any reviews. I'm not on Twitter. I'm not on Facebook. So I just I'm in a little bubble, and all of the people who were part of it are really proud of it, and that's what mattered. And I just want people to see it, and to learn more, because there's so much more that you can't include in. It's not even 6 full hours, however many hours it actually is with commercials. There's so much more to learn, and for people to read the book, to watch documentaries, because there's so much more to the story. And we did the best that we could to include as much as we could for our limited event.
Well, you did an incredible job. And I think one of the testament to the best writers is, when you watch a piece and you're like, you feel like you lived that experience, and you really achieved that. And I know what a coup that is and how hard that is to achieve. So congratulations.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Such a beautiful piece,
Thank you.
I'm so proud of you, and I think it's gonna really do well at the awards. Not that any of that shit matters, you know what I mean? But justice prevails, and this is such a beautiful piece. Everyone listening, please check it out. It's on Hulu and Disney Plus.
I think just Hulu.
Okay.
It's all 6 episodes are on Hulu, and I believe still on abc.com, but Hulu definitely. Yeah.
And can you talk about what's next for you?
Yeah, this summer, right after I wrapped production, we took a book out called Black Cake. It's just came out in February now, but it's
part of Oprah's book club, right? Yeah.
I don't know if it's part of her book club. Maybe it is, but she's attached. She's an executive producer.
That's what I messed up.
Yeah. So Harpo Films, Capital Entertainment, and I'm where I have my overall deal. We took out a project, Black Cake, and we sold it to Hulu, and it is an 8-episode limited series, straight to series order. I'm currently running a writer's room. We've been working for 5 weeks, breaking the rest of the episodes, and it is a family drama wrapped in mystery set across, from 1960s to present day, all over the world.
Yeah.
It is such a beautiful novel written by Charmaine Wilkerson, and I just want to do it justice. And it's a beautiful female forward story about motherhood and identity, and I'm really excited for everybody to see it, hopefully early in 2023 on Hulu, but we haven't filmed it yet, so we have to film first for it to air.
On behalf of all actors everywhere, the thing that we rarely really do get a chance to do is execute great writing. And so thank you on behalf of all actors for being a great writer and creating great content. I mean, I would die to audition for you. You're going so far, and I'm just like, I feel so honored to get a chance to be here right as it's just starting for you. And
it feels like I'm really old, and like
I feel the same way, man. Like, I just shot SVU, and I'm like, I'm my career's over. I'm dying soon, So, but final question, and I apologize that this is a loaded one, but it's so hard today in the on one hand, there's more content than ever, but with social media and the rise of everyone having the proverbial microphone, it's really hard to make it and get lost, and just the ways of, that you used to be able to do it don't really exist anymore, because now YouTubers are getting deals and Instagram models are like writing biographies. And, I have thoughts on that, but it is what it is. And that's capitalism and entertainment. And, for all the writers out there that have things they want to say and aren't getting the chance to say them, any words of wisdom you might have?
It is so hard. And I often, when I do panels and I want to make sure the advice I give is relevant today, because when I even just, 9 years ago when I got my first app, everything has changed so much. I would just say, if you have a story, if you have something to say, just keep saying it. Just keep saying it. Find new ways to say it, new platforms where you can say it, but just don't stop. If this is really what you want to do, because that's what I didn't. It took me a long time to get staffed. It was a long time. But I couldn't imagine myself doing anything else. I had to tell these stories. And so I just was unwilling to give up. And I know that's not specific advice. It's right. But it's just all I can say, because that is, I didn't know anybody.
It's a marathon.
I'm not related to it. Like,
me either.
None of that. It's like, it just wouldn't give up. And I just kept writing and I kept pushing myself, and I never settled. I never just said, I have this one spec, so hopefully things will happen. I just kept working and fighting to be heard.
Congratulations. This was such a great honor. I really do hope we get a chance to work together one day. And I'm so excited to see Black Chalk and everything that you do next.
It's Black Cake.
Black Cake, sorry. Oh.
It's okay.
I just worked out, so I was using chalk on my hands.
It's okay. No, thank you so much. Thank you so much. It was really fun.
And thank you for coming on. It means so much to me. And please come back when Black Cake is out.
Will do. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks. Good luck to you.
All right. So much love.
All right.